Here we are, 6.7, almost the end. We'll just have a little teeny tiny bit in 6.8, but I think you made it. We got the polar. Now, if you're a student going to calculus or to physics, you will see this again. Polar is a whole new way of writing things. Instead of we have like, we're used to having x's and y's, right? X, y. And this is great for rectangular looking things. But now we're going to have a whole new system where we're going to talk about a radius and an angle. We're going to call that the polar coordinate system. It's great for things that aren't functions. Circles, ellipses, hyperbolas, conics. Shit you learn all about in college algebra and you would typically learn in a trigonometry class yet. We're not going to pick it up because our weirdness was one of the few things I decided to skip over. So let's jump into it. The polar coordinate system. Now the way we're going to set it up is, remember trig? Remember that we go from 0 up to pi over 2 to pi to 3 pi over 2 back to 2 pi, like our unit freaking circle? Yeah, buddy. There we go. We're going to use this. Now we find that the way we're going to write it again, we have r comma theta. We have a radius and we have an angle, where the radius is just telling us our distance we want to travel. You know, like the magnitude. I mean, like the hypotenuse. Oh, I mean like it's all the same shit. And the angle is the direction in which it's going to point. Now let's quickly talk. We're going to call this right here. This is our polar axis. Right there. That's our polar axis. Just this piece right there. The positive x-axis. That's where we're going to start. And we're like, oh, I've never seen that before. Well, no shit, it's the same thing we've been doing. So that's where it begins. So all angles will move in a counterclockwise direction. So I don't know, maybe you have some sort of point here. Now, these are points, but we're going to draw this. This really isn't here, but I'm going to draw the line in. It's not really there. But we draw it in just for the help. So we can say that, all right, there's our angle, and that this length is the radius. And that's what we're talking about with polar coordinates. We're no longer talking about x's and y's. We're going to talk about how far away from the origin are we, and what direction are you pointing. And that's going to become polar. Get your grasp on this now. If you are one of those future engineers, you better know this shit. Let's go. Let's plus some points. Oops, still have one in there from last time. This is the second time I've done this. My Surface blew up on me and stopped working completely. Because, you know, running OneNote on a machine that was created by the same people that made OneNote, no way. Shouldn't work. Sorry. I should shut up. I get cranky about technology. Alright. So our first one, we're looking at some points here. We got our radius is 2, our angle is pi over 3. We're going to look at our first graph right here. So let's go get it. Now, the way we have it is, well, look, I'm going to zoom into our little graph, kind of take a look and say, these little rings, so this is saying this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. But we could go the other direction. This is not -1, that's not -2, these are all positive. It's just saying how far away from the origin are you. It's like a bullseye. You're 1 unit away, you're 2 units away, you're 3 units away, you're 4 units away, you're 5 units away. This is talking about your radius, how far away from the origin you might be. And now the angles just get set up, and shit, I don't think we need much help with those freaking angles. So when we go to graph this one, 2 comma pi over 3, and we go to mess around with that, we're going to look and go, all right, well, where's pi over 3? Well, there's pi over 6, and this is pi over 3. Now we're just going to go 2 units along that line, and then we draw this in. And there it is. We plotted our point. 2 comma pi over 3. Let's go to our next. This one tells us that we just want to plot 3 comma pi over 3. So let's go do it. 3 comma pi over 3. We want to graph this. Well, it's still the same angle. Pi over 3 is right here. But instead of only going 2 units, we're going to go up to our third unit. And go, there it is. 3 comma pi over 3. Sorry about that. And now we go down to number 3 for 2 comma 7 pi over 6. So we're only going to go 2 units, but we need to find 7 pi over 6, and 7 pi over 6 lies over here. It lies right down there. And we're only going to go 2 units. So we move in that direction, and we say that this point is 2 comma 7 pi over 6. But notice that the 2 is positive. It's not negative. We're not changing any signs. The radius, we're going to keep positive for now. I don't know why that's there. Okay, and moving on, we go to number 4. And we have 2 comma negative pi over 3. So that's just telling us to go in the opposite direction. It's the same sort of angles as we've had in the past. 2 comma negative pi over 3. Well, negative pi over 3 would be moving in this direction. It's down here. There's negative pi over 3, and it says to go 2 units in our radius on that line. So there's our point, 2 comma negative pi over 3. So negative angles are not that big of a deal. They're really not. What's going to give us the big deal is a negative radius, and that'll be in our next slide. So yeah, I said it, we can have a negative radius. Now for our last one, you look at this and you're like, holy shit, this isn't the last one. And we're like, dang, that kind of looks like it's a point or something. So this is saying that your radius is 0 and your angle is pi. So that means we're moving in the pi direction on number 5. But we're not going to go anywhere. Well, if you don't move anywhere, I think you're just left with the point right there in the freaking center. Huh? That's just the origin. So if you have no radius, you don't go anywhere, you are just right there at the front. Now, we move down to our last, number 6. We got some r comma theta down there, which is saying our radius is 4, but our angle is 0. Well, 0 is our polar axis. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're right there on that polar axis for our 4 comma 0. And there's your intro. That's how we graph. That's how we plot some points. That's how we do. And we'll be back to deal with some negative radii. We'll do some other shit with converting back and forth between equations. And I'll see you in the next one.